Hey guys, thank you for tuning back in with BeLocal. So today in this interview we have two special guests who are foreign residents here in Japan. And the first guest we have Dr. Jeremiah Stanley, who is currently a PhD candidate at Yokohama City University studying virology. And as a second guest we have Delana Miyazaki, who is an American jazz singer-songwriter living in Sapporo. So we asked these two about how the coronavirus pandemic have affected their daily lives. So I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Okay, so my name is Delana Miyazaki, and I'm kind of known as the voice of Sapporo. I'm most well known for this. The next stop is Sapporo Station. I'm a musician. I've recorded music for Seiko Mart. It's like a really huge...
Really?
Yeah, I did a commercial for their coffee brand, Grandia. I performed once or twice a month, sometimes more seasonally, up until February.
Right.
I actually came in here for HIV research. I was
Right.
doing HIV research for like the past for 2 years, and
Right.
the coronavirus came in like a year ago,
Right.
and I had to use my expertise to find something for coronavirus because that's a need of the hour. So actually I shifted my HIV research into coronavirus research.
It has kind of through seasons, like when it first hit and a lot of the schools closed. I also teach English.
Right, yeah, that's
Like,
another.
Hardly any musicians are
Another-
full-time.
Yeah.
So besides narration work and the music thing and
Yeah.
acting, I also have always taught English to make a living.
Yeah.
And so I teach at like preschools in the morning and businesses in the evenings and a lot of private lessons. And yeah, there's been a lot of fluctuation in that. So I think the preschools closed for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I caught just a run-of-the-mill cold right after that. Like, went back to work for 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
And under normal conditions, I would totally just wear a mask and go to work. I felt fine, but because of the strict rules about everything, I had to stay off work. So I missed like a month of income. Even with my English, which work has been the most stable, like my biggest clients, I was teaching different hotels and their staff.
Yeah.
And we had like contracts, but they had to quit or like postpone those because they lost all their business.
Right.
So yeah, it has had a huge impact. I also was scheduled to have my first ever concert tour in Tokyo and Yokohama
Really?
back in March.
Oh, that was scheduled for
It
March?
was. I had arranged everything myself, and I was playing with like 6 different
Oh my god.
professional musicians.
Yeah.
Even one guy who's still currently Lisa Ono's saxophone player, and
Wow.
and the pianist that recorded her first album. If you don't know, she's like a very famous bossa nova jazz musician.
Oh, really?
In Japan, yeah.
Wow.
And I had this wonderful lineup of musicians, and I went there a couple times for rehearsals and to greet all of the live houses. I had 5 shows lined up,
Wow.
and I decided to cancel them.
Negative impact will be like, I live here alone in my apartment. I go to work, I come back. So I prefer more social life. So back in my country, in India, I was more a social person, interacting with so many people.
Right.
I was never like alone.
Right.
So yeah, that kind of affected me because due to the COVID pandemic, like I was not able to like go out, socialize. I mean, I still did with like some of my friends with my masks on.
Right.
And but then again, like I like to be hanging around with people because there's like a lot of stress in the work, and then my stress relief is like going out with the buddies and getting a beer. Yeah, even like sanitizing, especially in the winters, like dries out your skin and the skin becomes like really rough. And sometimes I hit the gym, and in the gym, like we have to like sanitize the equipment like after every use.
Right.
So the hand is always exposed to alcohol and the skin gets dry too much,
Positives, I'd have to say, I've written some pretty cool songs that have been inspired by
COVID.
COVID or current events. And I recorded and released some new music with a local producer here, which I might not have found the time to do. if it wasn't for this.
Positive would be like, basically my research.
Yep.
So I was like toiling hard for my publications in HIV for 2 years. I was doing a lot of experiments and had a lot of failures with HIV. But COVID, SARS-CoV-2 just came in. So there's a lot of new things to be found out. So
Right.
anything we find out is a new finding. So it actually increased my work. So I had to work more,
Right.
and like for research more. But it was more interesting for me because I told you I like challenges and like want to find out something new.
Right.
So I was kind of sucked into it. I was putting my heart and soul and wanted to find some things and find some new findings.
Right.
Yeah, so my research kind of improved and I had like good data, so I was able to publish a few papers. I think we have kind of learned to live with it for the past 1 year. I think like most of the troubled times are like we crossed it. So right now the virus will kind of spread more among the population, and we also have got a vaccine. So by the end of this year, maybe we'll be having like vaccine mediated protection, and also the virus is like might be like less virulent or less dangerous. So I think we can enter 2021 with some positivity. As of now, we've seen like all the mutant viruses, like
Right.
the ones that we have detected, the ones that we have not detected. It hasn't caused much of a change or a drastic change of the disease. So whatever we know the disease as COVID, it's the same. The mutants are causing a similar disease. It's not like, so we need not be afraid that okay, the virus mutated, it's become a bigger killer, So and these mutations are like small point mutations. They're not going to change much on the virus, so the vaccines will still have their effect.
Well, the economic situation is one that definitely concerns me. Thanks to the Japanese government's support for people doing freelance work like myself, we had a financial subsidy that really saved
Hey, what?
my finances because of missing so much work, and more than half of my income was lost almost
Really?
instantly because, like, especially the video projects
Yeah.
that I did were a really big part of my income.
And you were unable to do it.
Yeah,
at all,
because tourism-related videos,
Right,
related
you're
videos, completely gone.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be available again next year or, if work is going to pick up again. Also, all the businesses that have suffered and people that are having an even harder time keeping their work up.
Yeah.
I was hoping to do like a hybrid concert event because it would provide income for like the musicians I often worked with before and the live house.
Yeah.
I want to support the community that way. We sit 2 meters apart. We all wear masks. As soon as I get into the student's home, I wash my hands.
Yeah.
They give me a glass so that I can gargle.
Really?
Yeah. So
Because you're going to their house and
I have like I said, like retired couple. They're not
right.
really going out.
Yeah,
I still go to their house because they're not really comfortable with online style lesson, and it's 2 of them, so it would be hard for them to cram around their computer screen.
Yeah.
So we keep really like social distancing in every possible way. And when I go to the kindergarten, take my temperature as soon as I walk in. All the teachers do. Disinfect hands. I carry alcohol wipes with me, so if the kids happen to touch any of the teaching materials, I try to wipe them down. If I'm gonna sit and play the piano, I wipe the keys down before and after I play.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I keep hand sanitizer in my car, and even if I've disinfected my hands at the supermarket leaving, I will do it again as soon as I get in the car. And also wipe down the steering wheel. So lots of hand washing, being careful, like what you touch, wearing a mask for myself and other people's safety, and even if it's just the feeling of safety, I think it helps reduce people's stress.
Yeah.
When you wear a mask.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like we kind of the official nomikais and everything, the bonenkais, they got cancelled this year. But sometimes, like me and my colleague, we like we're working all the time, so we sometimes take a break. Okay, let's go have a pizza or let's go have some food. So like 4 or 5 of us go, and we follow kind of a social distancing norm, and we kind of prefer a more spacious restaurant which is not crowded, and which is like well ventilated, so we select that kind of izakayas. Yeah, and we have the mask, sanitizers, hand sanitizers, and Japan is much disciplined public. So the most of the people, like when the law is passed, they like follow it. So there is like a mandatory mask law, mandatory hand sanitizing. So people are like in the public spaces while commuting to the offices in the train, even though the train is crowded, and even though like the public transport or even public places, people have the masks, people have the etiquette. I think that's one thing which many other countries are missing. The Western countries, they like have my rights or something, no masks, and they don't follow. So that's one big factor why Japan is maybe a bit more successful than the other places. But I feel safe to be in Japan rather than in India, where like, I can go out and everybody's wearing masks here in Japan. But when I go to India or the US, I see people not wearing masks. I can find a bit of sense of danger, like, hey, what if that guy is infected? He can actually pass it on to me. So there is a inherent kind of a safety because of the disciplined population here.
I do think Japan has definitely taken a good approach. I have a student who is currently stationed or working in Singapore, and we still do online classes, and listening to this very strict measures they've taken there where
In Singapore?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Really?
because it's a very small island nation with more control.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how the government works there, but it sounds very much like they have complete control about what you can do, and so yeah, like you could get fined seriously if you went out when you weren't supposed to, and it was very strict. But I think in a very small country like that, it's something that could be done, whereas even Japan is a small country, but you can't do that without completely killing the economy.
That's true.
And the constitution here, I've heard, doesn't really allow for the government to completely force people. They cannot force you to stay home, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong about that, pardon me, but yeah, I have heard the constitution says they can't interfere with private enterprise, which means they cannot force businesses to close necessarily. But when they asked people, like, please stay home during this 3-day weekend, most people are replying.
They do, yeah.
I noticed, like, the first time they asked that, Starbucks all over town were closed. Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, oh no, but wow, I really respect them for doing that. Definitely hurt their business
It would
for that time, but yeah, I think people are doing the best they can to comply and be safe. But I'm glad that we have freedom to do as we think is best.
Yeah.
I mean, I go for the direct scientific websites, and I check for the publications related to like COVID from the trustworthy journals, like the scientific journals. But the one that goes to the people, maybe they can follow like CDC or like the ones that generate this kind of data, rather than the others who take the data, they manipulate, or the other YouTubers or vloggers. They just but like the people, most people choose to see what they want, choose to read what they want. So that's a big drawback which is there. A lot of misinformation which goes on. I don't think much could be done regarding this. We could just say like just follow trustworthy sources.
Okay, so I'm very much a person who does not watch the news or read the newspaper because of the negative vibe it tends to carry. And I think it was Tim Ferriss who said it first, but if it's really important, somebody's going to tell me about it. And so because I'm teaching a variety of students with English conversation, of course the current news always comes up. So I often rely on my students or coworkers to tell me
For the news.
what's going on. Social media tends to pick up things. If somebody asks me how are the numbers, I just Google it. There was a website dedicated to the situation in Hokkaido. I think it had something to do with Hokkaido University that I was relying on in the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a land where the mountains are nameless, and the rivers all run God knows where.